All right, everybody take a moment. Just appreciate this. Like, how cool is this? We're talking about the college football playoff rankings in December. As of now, the Sun Devils are in. ASU moving up a spot, 15th in the latest CFP poll. Iowa State, their Big 12 championship game opponent, is ranked 16th, right behind them. Bottom line, the winner of the Big 12 title game is going to the college football playoff, and the loser is out. Looking at the bracket, ASU is the 12th seed. Remember, the top 4 conference champions get a first-round bye. What these rankings tell me, the committee does not think too highly of the Big 12. If the current top 4 teams all win their conference championship games this weekend, then the Big 12 champ will not get a first-round bye and have to open on the road. The final rankings come out on Sunday. Now, none of this matters if ASU does not beat Iowa State Saturday in Arlington. Kickoff 10 a.m. Yes, 12 Sports will be there. If ASU wins, it's their first outright conference title since '96.
I'm not worried about the nerves. I'm just super excited. I mean, I get to go play on this stage. You know, this is what you dream about when you're a little kid. You watch these games. I mean, shoot, I was just watching the game, the game last year for the Big 12 championship. It's just really special to see all the work pay off.
We always believed. We've seen every game on our schedule. We feel like we can compete in this league regardless of us being picked last preseason, regardless of being an underdog every week. We just constantly keep working, preparing to win on Saturday. And as long as we do that, we feel like we have a very high chance.
Doug Franz, host of the Doug Franz Unplugged podcast, joining us now for instant reaction. Full transparency here. We already did this earlier, right after the show.
You don't have to admit it.
I screwed it up. Doug is back a few hours later to decompress with all of us. You're watching this. You wouldn't know, but that's just what kind of friend Doug is. And that's how passionate he is to talk sports with us. So, Doug, we appreciate this. Take 2, by the way. Did you put back on the shirt and tie for us?
No, it's a different shirt and tie because the other one went in the wash. It was too sweaty. So I was like, I'm done. I'm not wearing this again.
We're real here, guys. We're real with you. All right, Doug, now that you had a few hours to think about these rankings, what do you make of it?
My biggest issue to me is the hypocrisy of the committee. And that is, okay, fine. You think ASU is where they belong at number 15. All right, I accept that. But then you tell me that Indiana is 4 teams better. Well, I don't accept that if we're looking at the resumes of the teams. Clearly, that to me is you're saying the Big 10 over the Big 12 instead of saying schedule over schedule. And that's where it bothers me. Indiana played 1 team this year of any ilk, and they didn't get pounded, but they were controlled the whole game by Ohio State. So why is Indiana that much better? When I see that kind of hypocrisy, then I have a major problem with it. Oh, yeah, that's a mess. Okay, it's actually, I was thinking in my head that Indiana was 11th, and I'm wrong because Alabama got that last magic spot of 11 where you basically get to keep your spot in the playoff. I look at Indiana at 9, and you're telling me that there's a 6-team gap between ASU and Indiana. If you're watching these 2 teams side by side on film and you think that, you don't know the game. And if you're judging resumes, you don't know the opposing teams that they've played. So things like that show me they don't really have a clue.
Yeah, Doug, it's frustrating. It's it's weird to me. I don't understand how the Big 12 does not have more, whatever you want to call it, respect, I guess is the big word. When are they not a Power 4 conference anymore? Did I miss the memo? Did I miss the memo where the Mountain West all of a sudden becomes better than the Big 12? Like, look at the other teams Boise State has to play. It doesn't even compare to what Arizona State has to do. Arizona State's beat more ranked teams than Boise State. They played a tougher schedule. They've just flat out better. And sure, Boise State only losses to Oregon, but that was early in the year before Oregon was even Oregon. So right. I just don't understand, unless they are undefeated and just rolling over folks all year long, I don't see how Boise State is ahead of anybody in the Big 12 in my eyes.
I'll use the rankings to prove you right and prove the hypocrisy of the committee. If we're looking at side-by-side comparison of where you are right now, like watching film. I don't care what film it is you're watching. When you see a healthy Jordan Tyson, the growth of Sam Levitt, one of the best running backs in the country in Cam Scadaboo, and then the defense on top of it, ASU is a more complete team than Boise State. If we're going to look at record and we're going to say, well, Boise State only has one loss, they've got a better record. Well, if record is what matters, then why is Alabama at number 11 with 3 losses? Then that doesn't make any sense. Then Arizona State should be ahead of Alabama, if that's why you have Boise State ahead of Arizona State. And you see what I mean? They play this game where they use film and the eye test when they want to. Then they turn around and use resume talk when they want to. And there's no consistency with this committee, and it's been that way for years.
How do you think, though, moving forward, what will happen? What will happen with the rest of this, Doug?
That's a good question. The way that the bracket works, remember, the rankings are different than the actual bracket. And the reason why that is whoever is ranked as the top 4 conference champions, they get the first 4 seeds. Notre Dame cannot win a conference simply because they're not in one. So therefore, currently they're sitting as the number 6 team. Well, it's my belief, and I mean the 6th seed, it's my belief that Oregon is going to win the Big Ten championship game. And so whenever you see one of these brackets and they say, if the playoff started today, it's Arizona State in Happy Valley against Penn State. But if Penn State loses, it's natural to believe they're going to drop at least a spot or 2. That would put Notre Dame into the 5 seed position. I completely believe ASU is going to go there if they win. Same thing for Iowa State. I'm more confident that the winner goes to South Bend than I am on who wins.
What would be the ideal dream scenario? What should Sun Devil fans watch moving forward? What do you think is going to happen?
I would say the dream scenario would be to pay attention, whether you care to watch or not, Friday night. If UNLV wins the Mountain West Conference Championship, they're not going to vault UNLV ahead of ASU Iowa State. So then the Big 12 championship game Saturday morning at 10 o'clock would be a highway straight to Glendale. The winner between ISU and ASU would then go to the Fiesta Bowl as the number 4 seed, and they would await the winner of UNLV and Notre Dame.
Yeah, Doug, it's a lot going on, a lot to kind of get your head around. It should be interesting to see how this kind of all pans out. Let's get to Iowa State. What do you think is going to happen? What kind of matchup is this for ASU?
Man, with a healthy Jordan Tyson, I love it, Cam. I just absolutely love the matchup, but obviously that's not going to happen. Yeah, and the problem there is Iowa State then can put a lot of extra people in the box to be able to try to handle Cam Scadaboo. Now, even when they knew other teams had a great rushing attack, Iowa State was not good at stopping it. So therefore, there is a little bit of hope for AS. Not a little bit, a lot of hope with how good Cam Scadaboo has been all year. What's going to be huge is the continued growth of Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt is going to be able to use his weapons. He's going to be able to have opportunities. Does he hit them? The other side of the ball is where there's big questions. And Iowa State has 2 wonderful receivers who will be drafted. And they've got a good system in place. And therefore, it's going to be up to ASU to really be sound on the back end against Iowa State, because if they're not, there could be some big gains in the pass play. But every time you looked at ASU and wondered how is their pass defense going to do, it's at that exact moment where ASU gets an interception. So I'm not terribly concerned. They've risen to every challenge this year. Why should this be any different?
Doug, we'll get you out of here on this. I hear the podcast is making a road trip.
Yes.
You don't sleep. I don't know how. Again, I appreciate you doing this take 2 with us again. Where do you sleep? Like you're going to have a crazy weekend.
I had this morning. I had plenty.
Are you
of
in
sleep.
college again?
No, never. That was not good. I crammed a 4-year degree into 5 years. That's the biggest distraction is the Ohio Bobcats are on at 10 in the morning on Saturday. And I don't know how I'm going to pull that off, but what struggles. I'm doing is Santan Ford just blew me away. They said, hey, we want to create a Radio Row aspect. We want to make this a Super Bowl feel for the players. So I'm going out to a place called Texas Live, and I'm going to do an extra show Friday afternoon live, and I'll tweet it out on Twitter Spaces, so it'll be live on Twitter Spaces, and then I'll use the interviews and create a special pregame show for Saturday morning. So it's going to be a crazy, crazy time. I mean, I was up from 8 in the morning until noon today. That's plenty. And then I don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I'll fly out right after I record the show. So there won't be any sleep. I'll just head straight to the airport and then hopefully get a little nap when I get to the hotel on Thursday.
And then, are you going to stay the whole game is the question.
I have this is funny you ask. The third annual Unplugged holiday event at Bell's Nashville Kitchen starts Saturday at 3. It shows you I'm not the fan I think I am, because I never in a million years thought ASU would be going to Dallas, and I didn't think I would be going as well. So
nobody did. It's okay. It's okay.
So it's true. So I'm leaving at halftime, I think, and rushing over to DF Dub and getting on a plane and trying to get back by 4:30 and watching the game on the plane, the second half anyway.
Dedicated to his craft. Doug, real quick, since you brought it up, nobody, listen, Devils have talked about it. They wanted this. They thought maybe, and it's just kind of evolved to this thing that's happened, this growth. But the biggest thing I was taken away when I was watching the selection show today is that it is December, and people here in the Valley, sports fans in the Valley, Sun Devil fans, are hanging on every word of a college football playoff ranking show. If you would have told me that in July, I might have fallen over that we would be doing this right now. I don't even know what I would have said. Kenny kind of said that after beating U of A. Someone asked him, hey, did you expect this? If we would have told you this would happen in July, what would you have said? And he goes, I don't know. I have no idea what I would say. I had no idea this would I be watching this show this late in the year. How cool is this for our city?
It's just totally undescribable. And I realize I'm in a job where words are my currency, and I don't have any to be able to describe. The biggest way to look at it is the biggest carrot that Kenny Dillingham had to start the 2023 season was to say, let's get to a bowl game. And hours before practice starts, for the first time, he finds out the school has said, no, we've broken so many rules that we're going to not go to a bowl game. We're going to self-impose a bowl ban.
I remember that day. I was there.
You were there. And we're only 14 months. We're really like 14 and a half, 15 months removed from that moment. And ASU is in a game to determine A, if they're the champions of a new conference, and B, if they are one of the 12 teams to fight for a national championship. You can't do that in 15 months. And Kenny Dillingham did exactly that. It's undescribable.
Coach of the year, without question. I want to hear arguments, because there aren't any. They were picked to finish dead last.
Dead last.
They are first.
The only argument is people that want to argue Cignetti in Indiana, and I would second your motion on that, because very simply, A, Indiana's not winning a conference championship, and B, as I said before, who have they played? ASU has accomplished a lot more in their 12 games than Indiana did, and Indiana isn't coming off of sanctions and a disgraced head coach that was fired for losing to a MAC school, not for cheating. He was fired for losing to a MAC school, and they then had the athletic director resign, but somehow still get paid. That's all happened in the last 15 months. Of course, without a doubt, Kenny Dillingham did the best job coaching in 2024 in America.
And he's activated the Valley. And when Tempe, and listen, I get it. We're going to say that a lot, and some fans might be like, roll their eyes at it at this point, but it's a true statement. And when Tempe and ASU football is rolling, this city is on fire. And it's been that way for a long time.
The whole campus. I mean, ASU hoops, granted, San Diego's not top dogs or anything, but hoops they're 8-1. Volleyball became the first team to win a championship in the Big 12, in the new configured Big 12. And then you look at Greg Powers, and ASU hockey upsets the number one team in the country, Denver, not once, but twice in the same weekend. It totally starts rolling downhill, and the momentum builds because football is football. football. And when you have that kind of spirit, and now Graham Rossini in charge, I think that's another story. It appears to me Graham Rossini, our biggest fear was what? This guy's a yes man. He's been involved in the university for a long time. He's just going to be Dr. Crow's friend
Puppet.
who does what.
Yeah,
that's
puppet.
not the
I
case
thought
at all.
puppet. I thought puppet.
Puppet's a great word, and it's not the case at all.
You're correct, Doug, and that's been the biggest thing. And every time I see Graham, I just remind him, I go, man, it's the little things. It's the little things that you're doing that are going a long way with people. Because for a long time, ASU fans did not feel a part of that university.
No.
And what Graham has done, he's listened. When people have suggestions, he responds to them on social media. It was like, you want this? Sure. You want the saying back in the stadium? Great. You want Sparky on the helmet? We'll put Sparky on the helmet.
Yep.
The little things that have gone such a long way. You want to open tailgating lots earlier? Guess what?
Yep.
Fine. We'll do it. No
Yep.
problem. And for such a long time, fans' voices and everything that fans kind of treasured and liked just fell by the wayside. And no one gave them any credit or listened or did anything. And it just seems like while they can't do everything, and they can't do everything overnight, those little steps to repair all the relationships and bring people back to ASU has been the biggest thing. Graham listens, and he tries to do things to make everyone feel a part of that university. And that's been really cool to see.
I want to use your analogy and use that phrase steps. Under the old regime under Ray Anderson, it was if you, Mr. Booster, Mr. Advertiser, Mr. Fan, walk up enough steps, do enough things for me to actually turn my head and look at you,
Sure.
then I'll allow you to walk up into the throne room. Graham Rossini is the exact opposite. It's how many steps do I need to come down to meet you to where you feel comfortable coming into our area, and that's all he does. Anything that he thinks, wow, the fan would benefit if I do this, he does. And I'll give a little shout out. I know some people don't see it the same way I do, but I would give a little shout out to Derek Hall on that, because even though there's things that about the Diamondbacks you kind of wish maybe they would do this, maybe they would do that, Derek Hall's thing has always been fan. And Graham Rossini spent a significant chunk of his career witnessing that as a Diamondbacks employee, and he has certainly brought that to Tempe.
All right, Doug, I'm rooting for two things on Saturday. The Devils to win and you to make your flight. Those are my two things.
Listen, if
you miss that flight,
Bobcats win, I would cash in the Bobcats win and me missing the flight. My wife might divorce me, but hey, if the Bobcats win, we'll deal with the ramifications.
I was
of what
just about to say, Doug, if you don't make that flight, she might never let you out of the house again.
Yeah, or never let me back in the house again.
Oh, fair enough.
Either one.
Dougie, thanks for the time.
Always, anytime you need it, no matter whether it's take 5 or take 10.